Alrighty. Hello. Plum here from MTG Jank Tank. And I thought I'd make a quick video as I'm fumbling around with one of the craziest decks I've played in a long time. And I don't think I'll be able to do it justice, but I just wanted to give a brief overview of this insane list that's been kicking butt and taking names. So this is green-black Lotus Shift. It comes from Discord user Lord Servant, who has a thread in the MTGA Eternal Discord server. You can go through and see some gameplay videos and sort of his evolution of the deck as time went on. But I want to show you the most recent version, which I've been having a really hard time getting a grasp of, but we're slowly piecing it together. But Lord Servant ended up taking this list to Mythic, I believe number 167, without dropping a single match from Platinum to Mythic. I've seen it played firsthand by them. It's faster than Eldrazi, it's faster than Boros, it's faster than most of the aggro decks in the format. I watched it win through white-red land destruction. I watched Lord Servant get Micro-Synth spawned and then World Breakered and then still win. I saw them win through a Rest in Peace and a Leyline of Sanctity. The deck is just crazy. So this is somewhat similar to Amulet Titan in Modern, but it's also a whole different animal. And basically, the main idea is to get a spelunking and or a vigorous farming into play so that all of our lands enter untapped. From there, we kind of have a few goals, but we basically want to set up a certain number of loops. The main loop that you will use to win the most often, or at least the one that I'm winning with most often, is Splendid Reclamation, Mystic Sanctuary, Nurturing Peatland, and then some amount of Lotus Fields, at least 2, I believe. So what you can do is, let's say you cast Scapeshift, you sack all your lands, you go get, a couple Lotus Fields, whatever you need, Mystic Sanctuary, and Nurturing Peatland. Once you do that, you tap all your mana, or sometimes you have utility lands too, and you float it off of Splunking and Vigorous Farming. Then the Lotus Field will automatically sacrifice, whatever you need to put into the graveyard. After that, you cast Splendid Reclamation. Everything you just dumped comes back into play. That includes Mystic Sanctuary and Nurturing Peatland. Mystic Sanctuary enters, returns the Splendid Reclamation that you just played back to the top of your library. You can then sacrifice Nurturing Peatland in order to draw the Splendid Reclamation, and then you have all the lands that you started with that you can tap, including the Lotus Fields. The Lotus Field will sacrifice those lands again. Then you cast the Splendid Reclamation you just returned. Make sure you sacrifice both these Peatlands and Sanctuary to the Lotus Fields, and then you can loop that over and over. So you're constantly replaying Mystic Sanctuary and Peatland off of Reclamation. Lotus Field dumps them right back in the graveyard. You cast Reclamation, and you can net mana every turn as long as you have X amount of lands, more than 6 or so. I should say 6 mana specifically. In order to set that up, the deck is playing Beseech the Mare, which you can easily cast for bargain off of Malevolent Rumble, Kami, Burgeoning, as well as the Colony Garden token that we have here. We're also playing Scapeshift in order to set up and get the lands that we need. And then we also have Lumra and Aftermath Analyst sort of acting as Splendid Reclamation's additional copies. Now, this is the first loop. However, you can loop Aftermath Analyst and Shifting Woodland. So you tap all your mana, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you Scapeshifted, and you bring all these things into play. Again, we have a Spelunking out. From there, tap everything, sacrifice Aftermath Analyst, make sure you either have a woodland or get back a Shifting Woodland onto the field. With all that mana you floated, you then copy Aftermath Analyst, sacrifice it, hopefully, or you should have Lotus Fields returned with the Aftermath Analyst, so you can sack your whole board again, and then you sacrifice the copied Aftermath Analyst, which is actually the Woodland. That sacrifices itself, which means it brings back itself with Aftermath Analyst's ability, and then you loop that over and over, same thing for an infinite number of times or mana. While you do that, those are the two main loops you have, but there are some other sweet things you can do. We do have a Mastermind's Acquisition for a Wish board. The main win cons you'll usually grab is just a Torment of Hellfire. Again, does not target, so it gets through Leyline of Sanctity, it gets through the One Ring, it gets through all sorts of cool stuff, it gets through Solemnity combo. But you also have a single Sabatender, which you can find off Green Sun Zenith, which is also really cool because it finds Aftermath Analyst as well. You could also find Lumra if you really needed it too. And this just landfall pings your opponent for every loop of the Reclamation or Shapeshift sort of combo you got going there as well. Now, we're also playing a single Calling Ritual, which is one of the reasons this deck is so good against Boros, because you can play this, destroy their board, and still have enough mana to combo off. If for whatever reason you don't have a determinate loop, or you just can't quite get there, it usually sets you up to win the following turn, and it's nice because it doesn't actually hit Spelunking or Vigorous Farming. It is possible to win through Lumra beats, though I haven't done that yet, but the last thing I want to sort of quickly mention here is the lands. So the main thing that I found, that I learned from Lord Servant, is Besiju, Odawara, and Arid Archway. This is what makes the deck so good against hate. This is how you win through Rest in Peace. This is how you win through any sort of lock piece that hurts you. So we've had a couple games where our opponent, I don't even know, banishing lighted our Spelunking, or got a Rest in Peace in board. So what you can do is Shapeshift or Beseech for Shapeshift. Go get Arid Archway plus either of these. It enters, you can bounce your channel land back to your hand. So basically Shapeshift acts as a tutor, and then you can discard it and remove whatever piece that is. So you're actually able to use Shapeshift to get these 4 lands into your hand, which has been absolutely crazy. Spymaster's Vault is pretty sweet, because if you are setting up something like the Aftermath Analyst loop with Shifting Woodland, or maybe you sacrificed a Kami or a token or a colony, or maybe you're looping multiple colonies and then you beseeched a couple times for something, this actually draws and discards quite a lot off the Connive, and then it helps sort of dig through while dumping lands into your graveyard. So that's pretty sweet. Peatland obviously is necessary to loop. Underground Mortuary is just a great card. We're playing all 4 because we want to dump cards and lands into our graveyard. We're playing 30 lands total. Echoing Deeps is fantastic to get back a copy of literally any other land. Most commonly, we use this as additional copies of Lotus Field to combo off. Urborg, we have to have 3 of, because we have triple black and double black for our Beseech and Mastermind's Acquisition, as well as a bunch of sideboard cards, Torment, Duress, Damnation, things like that. And then we're also playing a Mirror Pool, which is super sick. This also creates copies of Aftermath Analyst. So if you, for whatever reason, get your surgical, your Shifting Woodland from the opponent, blah, 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 you can tutor this up instead, make a copy of Analyst, use this first one to get this one back, copy it again, and then you can loop Aftermath Analyst over and over that way. Up next, we have Urza's Cave, which is just a repeatable land tutor in this deck, especially once you start Reclamation, Shapeshifting, and Analysting. It's easy to go find whatever card you might need. It can, if you already have a Besiju or Odowater on the field, you can go find this, go fetch, the Arid Archway, play the Arid Archway, bounce those back to your hands. It can find it directly and all sorts of cool stuff. And then we're also playing a Valgravoth's Lair. Hexproof land comes in tap, doesn't matter because it's spelunking, but just sort of helps cast Sabatender if we need it. And then I think the sideboard's gone through a few iterations, but helps sort of cast whatever else you need it to. Burgeoning is in here. I think Lord Servant is playing a full 4. I only have 3. So I'm also playing Kami. This is a great budget option if you don't have these, but Burgeoning is actually kind of nutty. Helps you go off turn 3 or 4 pretty consistently. There are so many lines. You're going to have to go check out Lord Servant. I will list it in the description of this video. Please feel free to come join us in the MTG Eternal Discord if you want to see some gameplay, because the first time I played it, I just kind of fumbled around in the dark for about an hour and went off so many times it just fizzled because I didn't know what I was doing. But once you start putting some reps in, it does become easier. But like Lord Servant said, and I would definitely agree, this deck seems like one of the most skill-intensive lists that I've ever come across, at least in the historic format. Like, I genuinely believe that this is way above any other deck, but because it's so tricky to play and you really have to think through all the possible lines, everything you have in your toolbox, it's very, very hard to play optimally. Lord Servant said, I believe, this is like a 10 out of 10 trickiness to play, and the next hardest deck to play in the format is like a 3. So I'm excited to keep putting in reps with this, but I know there's a lot of attention going on, and I hope Lord Servant, I did this justice. Obviously, credit where credit is due. He's been brewing this for quite a while, and it is a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. You can talk more about the sideboard, but obviously the forest comes in against something with land destruction, White Orchid, Phantom, and things like that. Gemstone Caverns comes in on the draw. Torment is your main thing. You can bring in a second Calling Ritual if you're against things like Boros. We had Fae from History, which blows up all artifacts and enchantments to go against, you know, whatever combo deck or hate pieces that you're going for. Leyline comes in against, you know, hand disruption, burn, things like that. Damnation is just sort of a catch-all against the creature decks. We have another Vigorous Farming in the sideboard. Lord Servant said they tried Wandering Minstrel, but the main goal is to keep our main combo piece, like Spelunking, interaction free. So a lot of the times you'll wait until you have like Spelunking in hand with like a couple Lotus, access to a couple Lotus fields, and then you'll play Spelunking, Lotus field, put the second one into play, make 6 mana, and just go off that turn. Circle Attraction as removal for opposing combo decks and key pieces, also Grave Hate, and then just 3 Duresses against spell heavy decks like Control or Combo, things like that. Yes, I probably missed quite a bit. This is more of a deck tech rather than a gameplay explanation, but hopefully it helps you get an idea of what the deck is trying to do, how it does it, and why it is so freaking sweet, in my opinion. And if you have the wild cards, I highly recommend it, but you might need some help piloting, so feel free to pop in, ask questions, and Lord Servant's very friendly, but I think this is a sleeper list that people need to see, or people need to know about it, because it's not only fun, but it's crazy, crazy powerful in the right hands. So thank you. Once again, I'm Plum. Thanks for checking out the Jank Tank, and happy brewing. Bye.